I don't know if I have ever seen a more textbook steady trajectory of growth. And let me tell you a little bit about it. 9 million one year, 30 the next, 100 million the next year. In 2021 ended up at 200 million, and the target is 400 million with my great friend Jeremy Larson. And here's what Jeremy Larson just proved to all of us. They're not on surfboards and skateboarding every day out in Santa Cruz. Jeremy, my man, thanks for taking the time with me today, brother.
Thanks, my man. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, I mean, the days of being on the skateboard and the surfboards are long gone, but those were the fun days, though, right, man?
Yeah, yeah. So now it's softball games with the girls and all
Yes,
those things, right?
yes, yep, yep.
Well, I want to go back to, and what's really neat about this is, and maybe you'll remember better than I do, because when you look at, we're all growing together, whether I'm a coach, you're a team leader, an agent, we're all growing in life. And so I think there's some parallel growth that happened. And the irony of, we met in person and at an event I was speaking at in San Francisco.
Yeah,
And you came up from Santa Cruz. I mean, we'd had some interaction, social, and through
yeah,
our good mutual friend, Joshua Smith.
yeah, yeah.
And
Josh
how
was,
many people were in that room, the event I was speaking at, Jeremy?
um, dude. I mean, it was like I think it was like eight, right?
Eight. So now,
It was.
how
I thought
long
I was
ago?
at the wrong. I thought I was at the wrong place.
Right? So watch this. So eight people, I'm supposed to fill rooms, eight people. But let's make this about you. Where was your business at that point in time?
Yeah, yeah. So at that point, that was the year of tripling as a solo agent. So I was in the process of hitting that 30 million right there.
So
Just
you were
finished.
9 to 30, and here I was in my infant stages of growing the coaching part of it. So, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a hotel, right? So we're in a small hotel, like breakout room. It wasn't even like a conference room, about eight people, and I sat right in the front, man. Right? I mean, I was this far from you. I was right. I'm like, I don't care who's here, what's going on, man. I know this is. I know this guy's gonna bring it.
So good. Well, and here you are. And I want to jump right in and share, because typically what we see, even with your peers, you'll see this rocket ship and then a flattening, and sometimes people can go backwards because you're finding yourself. And let's just go into, from an overarching space, if you were to take a look at this trajectory. Of course, there's bumps and bruises along the way. What would you say has been the key to the steadiness of your growth, regardless of what showed up in these past 4 years?
I one thing that I love when I came to the realization about hiring and firing based off our culture, that was huge for us, because you kind of get to a point and people see you and you got a buzz around town or whatever in your market, and agents want to talk to you or they want to come on board. And for us, really recognizing who we want to be here, who we don't want to be here, and going all in when we do get the right people, giving them the full support, giving them the tools, the resources, and the coaching to be successful, has been something that's played out really nice for us.
Well, and one of the things, anyone that knows you or those that are listening or watching all articulate this, because it's one of the things that I work on a lot with people is that sweet spot between tension, okay,
Mhm.
and stress, right? Stress shuts a human being down, tension challenges people, but also having that empathy in there where there's heart in it. Anyone that knows you knows that is who you are, but you're able to hold principle. And I want to go to a situation that comes up for a lot of different leaders. When you see something, and again, I want to speak to where your heart is in this. I know the human being you are. I mean, we worked together for a bit, but you're a really good friend to me. I know who you are. But talk to this: when you see something out of culture, how quickly do you move?
You got to move fast. You got to move fast, right? I remember Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? Hire slow, fire fast. And that's it. So I mean, part of the hiring process now, right? Like my hiring process in the past used to just be a quick interview. If I liked you, we kind of feel you out in this. And, you know, now it's a 3-part interview process. You know, you got to meet us in 3 different situations so we can kind of fill you out. I want to see how you're treating that barista when you order your drink. You know, I want to see how you treat that waitress if she forgets to bring out your fries or your salad. You know, and so that could, you know, we set up those systems to help us kind of see what you're about.
Yeah. So let's look at over the years who you've hired.
Yeah.
Has there been a certain target? And let's go first of all, certainly the principles and values of that person. But let's go to this first. New versus experience. If you're looking back at the choices you've made that have contributed to your growth, share with us what that dynamic has been. Has it been focused on one, a little bit of both, or that really doesn't play into it too much? Who is your avatar that you hire?
Yeah. So when we look at it from a production standpoint, and the 2 markets we're in, we have a specific number where we know is our sweet spot. And for our markets, right, every market's different. It's about 4 transactions a year. If you're averaging 4, you've gotten a taste of a good check, but you've also lost sleep over wondering when you're going to get that next paycheck. You know, and so we want to pay attention to that from a production standpoint. Now, when we're talking about overall experience, you know, if there's a new person and they're humble and they're hungry and a quick learner, 100%, that's a great fit.
Good. And when did you identify? Because naturally there's production and revenues and profit and all those things. When do you think that you really, the light bulb went on for you of, okay, I'm no longer in the transaction business. I mean, it's my primary. I am in the human beings. I mean, you're always someone that focuses on the experience of any human being. It's why you interview the way you are, the way that you do. But when did you come to understand, you know, this business isn't about another transaction anymore for me or even for one other person. This is about how am I going to move a group of human beings to do transactions? What point in your business do you say, okay, that's the true mission here?
Yeah. You know, I wanted that before I had it.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. And so my answer is not going to be the one that you probably were expecting to hear. For a lot, you know, for a lot of us, you know, we get to a point in production and we've got team and we got all these things, and then we figure out this is where our passion's at. But I had that passion when I came into the industry. And so I wanted to lead a team, you know, I wanted to lead an office. I wanted that from the start. I love leadership. You know, we joke about leadership as our love language. You know,
Right.
I love everything about leadership. And so I wanted that from the start. And, you know, I get more excited when someone on my team gets a transaction than when I do, you know. And dude, there's no better feeling when you get that phone call around the holidays from a team member like, hey, Jeremy, this is the first time I've been able to get everything on that Christmas list, or this is the first time that I'm not losing sleep trying to figure out how I'm going to, you know, get these gifts for my kids, or this is the first time we've been able to go on a vacation, you know, somewhere tropical. And, you know, that's what drives us as leaders, right?
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're there. What I say, and you and I've talked about this before, real estate isn't who you are. It's what you do to experience who you are at the highest level. I want to partner with you this year to have that one experience. What is it? I mean, in its simplest of form. What, so when you take a look at this production trajectory and certainly recruiting, let's just go back, for example, the beginning of 2021, you're coming off $100 million year and you ended up at 200 million. How many agents did you have the beginning of the year? If you remember off the top of your head, how many did you bring in and what did retention look like? And we'll take a
Yeah,
look at retention.
I think we went from 13 to 26. We let's see, 2021, we had three that aren't here anymore.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to point out to everyone is, and everyone has a different hiring process.
Right.
But one of the things to note here, typically the rule of thumb is you have to do triple your agent population to double your sales volume. And that's why there's no one way. What I want you to identify is here's someone that was able to double their agent population and double their sales volume. And so, just kind of listen closely as you look at any other interviews of people, listen closely to what Jeremy says is really, really important to them. What does and by the way, so people know too, when Jeremy's talking about 4 transactions, is that going to land someone 3 to 4.5 million roughly in production, or more close to 3 million?
Yeah,
Right,
we're almost $1 million per transaction.
Right. Good. So when we take a look at production, obviously what has to happen is the onboarding. And then once they're onboarded, it's what does it look like? If I'm an agent with you, Jeremy, because what I know is how someone's onboarded in those first 30, 60, 90 days will dictate how they produce. It'll dictate how long they stay. What does a typical week look like for an agent? Not from they wake up and do this and that, but here is, you're sitting in the boardroom with your leadership team, and okay, this is team meeting, this is huddle, this is role play. What does my week look like if I'm coming to work for Jeremy Larson?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're in 2 markets right now. So there's a market per each office, 2 offices. So there's a Zoom meeting right now every Tuesday.
Okay.
There's a coaching call. There's a coaching hour call with me every Thursday. If you have not done 3 transactions in the last 90 days, you have to be on that. And that's an hour. You can bring any questions with me. I may come on there. I may have a guest.
And that's a group. So let's every, because I want to share this before it gets out there. Coaching call every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Yep.
If you have not done
3 transactions in the last 90 days, got to be on there.
Awesome. And how do you do that? Is that fluid? Is it based on what you're hearing and seeing in the marketplace over the last week? Or is it one where you're going right down to the basic core foundational pieces because that's just what's missing?
Yeah, it's got to be a little fluid, right? I mean, look what's going on around here, right? In the last couple of years, and COVID and everything, and stuff changes and everything. So I wish it didn't have to be, but it's got to be fluid. And I love that, right? As a leader, because that keeps me on my toes. So it's like, hey, I gotta bring it every Thursday. And the team loves it. They really like the coaching call that we're doing. In addition to that, we do a morning huddle Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
That's for the same group. The same group has to tap in. They've got to be on that morning huddle. We need to hear what they're working on for the day, how they're doing on their following up, and all their activities to keep them moving down the line.
So just like in life, I mean, tell me if this sounds about right. Production in life and business creates freedom. Production in Jeremy's environment creates freedom. It's exactly. Not so giving the people that are out there doing the work and aligned with culture and your standards, not just expectations, that creates freedom for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Wow.
And for the team members, the agents that are operating at that higher level, my role as a leader, as a team, it's different. We're thinking about how can we accommodate them? How can we make them better? What can we add on to help them? And so we just hired our first showing agent as of this week for our top producer. Our top producer, she's opening 20 to 25 doors a week. Now she's got someone to help her with that. Now she's got a showing partner, right? We implemented that. Now she's got a showing partner who's starting today.
Wow.
that's going to take that load off of her so she can focus on the, the higher generating activities, as opposed to being in the field, opening doors, going to home inspections, appraisals, and all these things. And so with these top performers, it's a whole different mindset. It's how can I accommodate them? How can I give them more opportunities? How can I get them from where they're at to what they're not seeing they can do? She never imagined having a showing agent. She was scared when I told her it was the next step that we were going to do.
Well, and what you're pointing out too is because at that level, have you found, Jeremy, they want more time? I mean, how can I either do more
Yeah.
business and keep the time or even buy back more time?
It's all about time, because we all get to a point where money's not what motivates us, right? I mean, you and me have talked about this. Money stopped motivating us years ago, right?
Yeah, right.
And so it's the time, it's the lifestyle, it's the support, it's the significance too. Psychologically, everybody wants a certain level of significance. We're all wired different, and having that showing partner like that makes me feel valued.
Yeah. How, so let's, because I guarantee there's people listening or watching, and you and I have heard these stories that are very, very real. How have you handled the growth in this case? Jeremy, you're bringing more people in. Is it going to, have you experienced it doesn't feel the same. Hey, I'm going to have less opportunities. Have you walked through any of those doorways in this growth trajectory?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Look at me fall back a little bit in my seat. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I mean, so, it starts when you bring them on board. That business intimacy is something that I go, we focus a lot on that. We explain what that is. We let everybody know, like we expect that. Number one, we want business intimacy,
Right.
meaning high level of transparency, right?
Yes.
I mean, look, do you see a problem with me running a profitable business?
Oh, so you have the profit conversation up front
Mhm.
instead of it's that thing that we don't talk about and they can imagine how much you make and think you're the one making the big dollars, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You have it up front, and you want to make sure they understand, like, we want to grow. This is what we're doing. This is what we need to do. The industry is growing and evolving at a faster pace than it ever has historically. And we want to be a part of that.
Question for you. And I know you're a lifelong learner and you surround yourself. I mean, you're always the guy, humble. You're asking the questions, you'll get in any room. But if you were to look back and you could only choose one of these two, for those that are growing their business or stock, and I don't care. Listen, you can be at 500 transactions, you be 1,000 transaction, and this can be a sticking place for you even then. I'm gonna ask you this. Has it been your emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, or has it been your absolute knowledge and skills of real estate and your real estate transaction? If you could only pick one that was the catalyst over the other, which of the two would you share with everyone as absolutely irrefutable number one?
Emotional intelligence. 100%. If you want things to grow around you, you've got to grow from the inside.
So simple answer to give, but I want to unpack this for people because I think people will go, okay, that sounds good. It sounds right. And I need to read a book and all of this, but I want you to go back because we get to see this amazing growth trajectory and this business. And now you're impacting other people's lives. But I think the backstory, talk about the sacrifice and commitment you made in your younger years, because people are hearing principle here.
Yeah.
And if you can't feel Jeremy's conviction yet with a steadiness of him, then I don't know, we're not doing a good job here, or something's missing. I want to go back and unpack what you did to build to who you are today on the inside, I'd say from a heart, which of course impacts the mind. Take us back.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about upbringing, we can talk about the commitment to personal development, which I think is where you're going with this.
Yes, that in my getting to know you, And it was interesting because it was so perfect, no accidents. I saw a picture of you with Robert Kiyosaki this morning, I think on social.
Yeah,
We had this scheduled and I'm going through it, and there it is. That's that story he told me.
yeah,
Unpack that to people, because there's a piece that I want y'all to get from it, is volunteerism, a spirit of volunteerism, and
yeah.
what that's created for you. So talk about those years and what you were doing.
I've observed that there's different levels to accepting and committing to personal growth. And at first you question if this is really real. And what you're really questioning is, am I really real? Right? That first time someone tells you like, hey, you need to go to this event or you need to read this book, and you start, oh, that stuff's not real. That's not real. And that was me when I was in my teens after high school.
The woo woo stuff, right?
Yeah, that stuff's not, that's not real. And then for some of us, for me, I was blessed to have somebody who was successful, and he told me, he's like, hey man, you need to read these books. If the wheels are turning in your car, you need to be learning. You need to be listening to these tapes. You need to be listening to these CDs. You need to show up. Do whatever you got to do, but don't miss it. Take notes. Be a student of your craft. And I took that to heart. And so the picture with Robert Kiyosaki that you're mentioning, this is back in 1999, and back then it's like, I can't pay $400 to go to an event, but I was able to volunteer, reach out to them and tell them, hey man, I'll volunteer. And so I put myself in a position where they're like, hey, Jeremy, can you be on our staff here on the West Coast? Whenever we're in LA or San Francisco or San Jose, we want you here. We want you here to help set up. And so absolutely did that for 2 years. And here's what's cool about that is afterwards, we get to hang out with these incredible entrepreneurs, whether we're having a meal or they're having drinks or they're talking. And, you picture me in my young 20s, I'm sitting next to Robert or Brian Tracy, and, they're talking about deals. They're talking about successes. They're talking about failures. They're talking about, all these situations. And it really resonates with you when you get yourself in an environment, right, or around people that you look up to. When you can put yourself in that environment, it's very valuable. And so going back to your question, the personal development, that's a real deal. You want to have that relationship. If you're emotionally unstable, you're not going to have that epic relationship, that epic marriage. You're not going to be that amazing parent, that amazing leader, that amazing entrepreneur, that amazing realtor. And so we always go back to that focus on personal development and emotional intelligence.
Really good. What would your agents, if your agents were unpacking and saying, this is Jeremy's superpower. This is, and maybe it's a couple things.
Yeah.
What do you feel it is that creates a stickiness, a connectivity, a few different things for people that know, because even retention is recruiting, because you're re-recruiting your people every single day.
Yeah.
What would they say are the things that really stand out to them that are really important to them?
What I think is really big, and you don't hear this answer a lot to this question, is that level is transparency. And so when they know what's expected of them, when they know what's expected of me, right? We have that question. We have that question. What do you expect from a leader? What do you expect from me, as your leader, as your mentor? What do you expect? How do you expect me to show up? Here's how I expect you to show up.
So mutual accountability, not singular.
Right. It's mutual.
So you're not always on defense as the leader trying to make everyone happy. You have a context of mutual accountability.
Mutual accountability. And it's real easy. You're either in or you're out. Right? Like, that's it. You're in or you're out. And, something that you've taught me is, the highest form of love is accountability. I'm holding you to this standard because I care about you, not necessarily because I want a paycheck over your head. I care about you. You came here and said you wanted to do this, and we're going to do this together. And, you've fallen off track, but I, out of love and care, I want to see you be successful and happy. If this is what you still want to do.
Here's something. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in this because it's just wonderful for me to even listen to you too, because these are things that you had long before we had even met. And I think you do it unconsciously because of the work that you did. I want people to hear his leadership language patterns. Like right there, he was role playing. See, rarely do we experience role play, skill, practice, objection, handle dialogues with agents. Let me tell you something. That's the difference in your recruiting and retention. So
Yeah.
look at how he approaches that. Would you say when you look at walking into those situations, it comes back to that work that you did in personal development, understanding
Oh
human
yeah.
beings.
Yeah. 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 The older I get, the more I
The
realize.
older he gets, I love it.
Hey, it's the truth, man.
Yeah,
It's the more no, it's the more I realize how valuable that foundation is.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
That
know,
should go back to what have you had to here's the flip side of it, because I know when you talk about that transparent, what have you had to share with your people um, where you've fallen short? Where have you ever stood up in front of your people and said, you know what, I've fallen short here. Here's where I've screwed up.
yeah.
Or even more so, this is my weak spot as a leader. And it's something that I always need to work on and or bring people around me. Talk to us about vulnerable places you've gone. Do you believe in vulnerability? Transparency is one thing, right? Vulnerability is another thing. How important is transparency, and have you exercised that in this growth trajectory?
Yeah, the vulnerability is it's like a secret power, man. It is insane, right? It's incredible. And so many times, whether we're recruiting or I'm talking to other agents, you'll hear their frustration. There's no vulnerability from where they're at. There's no vulnerability from that leader that they're with. And, that vulnerability, it earns respect, and it creates, dare I say, it creates a bond. But for me to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to make 6 mistakes a week. You drop the ball here. Here's what we need to do to get it back to where it needs to be. Hey, look, I made this mistake. Here's what I was focused on last year. Now this year, one of my big rocks this year is I'm doubling down on the operations department that we have. Right. And so I love sales. I love marketing. I love leadership. I love recruiting. I love doing all that. And now we're here. And now we're going to double down and create this incredible experience for you all from an operational standpoint. You're going to see a level of support and structure that we didn't have a year ago. It's going to look completely different, and it's going to be amazing. But that's because I didn't have that focus on that end of the business. And so being vulnerable, taking them along with the ride, my vision, what we're doing, a lot of value in that.
And let me ask you this, because that can scare people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how many times have you got totally burned and it's gone sideways on you when you've been humble, transparent, and owned an outcome that wasn't good for agents? How many times have you got burned doing that?
When I own the outcome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too many times.
No. And what we find at that point, either I wasn't conscious enough some other times before and I mismanaged the relationship, or that's someone that is not looking for a long-term relationship.
Right. Right. Right.
In this time, I mean, we see this trajectory, but trajectories have woos, but we look at the body of work. What have
Yeah.
your dips been? What have been the hard lessons for you in this? The one thing you do so well to minimize and mitigate it is you're just constantly seeking from those who have gone before you. But still, there's going to be times you're in the trenches. What have been some places where you really stubbed your toe in a big, big way?
Yeah. I learned quick the power of focusing. The whole recruiting and hiring's got to be based off the culture. And so I have stubbed my toe on doing onboarding. We dodged a couple bullets, I'll say, letting the wrong people come on board. And we nipped that in the bud once they were here. But yeah, I've stubbed my toe on that. I think, I had to learn that lesson early on, and I had to learn it quick. And so as a result of that, we're very picky on who we hire. I think it's the biggest mistake that a team operator or a team leader could make, is bringing the wrong person on board, not from a performance perspective, right? But psychologically, someone who's not aligned and committed to the values of that operation.
You're hiring principles and values over talent and all that.
All day.
Period.
All day. Because I mean, who do you want to be around?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know, who do you want to be around? Who do you want to lead?
Yeah. We can control it. And so let's go a little bit inside of it. You have a young man that I've had the privilege to meet that supports in recruiting. He does most of the outbound for you guys, and a lot of it is more from a text perspective than call. Have you found that ratio is what you guys are doing? Bring me up to speed and let us know.
Yeah. I mean, we love texting. We love sending DMs. You know, it's funny, here we are in 2022, we're still talking about social media and how important it is, right? Like, right. But I mean, it's nuts. I know we're both laughing right now, saying that, but DMs and text are huge for us. And
so it can be huge for anyone. Okay, great. I'm going to send text messages and get response. That's not going to happen. So let me go over to, I want to marry the two, because you guys get a good response and it works well for you.
Yes.
So let's go over to what's happening in the social media environment that is allowing people to see something that's magnetic, that is something they want to be. What's going on out there that they're seeing? I mean, because you don't have big radios and radio advertising budgets. You don't have billboards everywhere. You're doing social media, and certainly there's signs out there. But what would you say the messaging is on social media, so that you know, when I text someone, there's familiarity from Instagram, familiarity from Facebook, and it feels good. What's working for you on social media? Because I think you, in our last couple of calls, you've been telling me, John, people are reaching out to me.
Oh yeah. They're following, they're consuming the content. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things a couple of things. I mean, one thing we do that we focus on with the social is we want to put the team up front, right? We talked about a Tool concert, right? Like,
we did have that conversation.
You know, it's a perfect metaphor. Yes. And so we want the team up front, right? So it's not all about Jeremy this or Jeremy that, or We want to put the team up front. And so we have a schedule of how often we're shouting out a team member or highlighting a team member. We're putting the team up front because I want someone who's watching it to start imagining what it would be like to be here. Right? What they're already seeing, they're already kind of going down the path and seeing through our social media what it would be like to be here.
Sure, because they see, listen, you'd have to be living under a rock to not see your trajectory. You know how the real estate business is. Everyone's watching what everyone's doing. So the numbers are there, but numbers aren't enough.
The numbers are there. And I mean, look, I want to show vulnerability, even on social.
How important, you know, it was interesting. I had popped on a podcast and someone had mentioned, yeah, but those type of posts, they don't perform well. And I said, perfect. How well do agent acknowledgement, public agent acknowledgement posts perform on social media?
So good. And it's something that gets brought up often and brought to my attention in the form of a compliment from various people in the industry.
Oh, so maybe someone who could be a prospect, a fellow leader that respects what you're doing as a leader, but maybe a prospect, a recruit prospect, competitors.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Exactly. And you know, it gets recognized, right? Because if I was an insecure broker or a team leader or fear-based, I'm going to be afraid to shout out the success of the team members. You know,
that 80% of the time when clients come on, that's the first thing they say to me.
Yeah.
but then people are going to see, and I go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I want to share this with everyone so that, because I don't want people to, okay, it works for Jeremy, but that's not going to work for me. And that's what
Right.
John says. Well, watch this. Here's what I want you to think about. If an agent leaving you because someone saw them on social and reached out to them, you've got bigger problems.
Bigger problems, man. If I shout somebody else out and every broker in town starts calling them or recruiting
And they
and,
can get them.
and they leave, I'm doing something really wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And so tons of research and studies have shown the number one reason someone leaves where they're at is because of lack of appreciation. And this is where so many people in our industry miss the mark, you know, lack of appreciation. It's not the commission. It's not the money. They know how to make more money. They know how to do more deals.
And they could, everyone, you know, the good question, and we've talked about this, everyone can cut a better deal everywhere else. How come they haven't left? Everyone would offer just to get someone, you know, the lost leader game. Anyone could do that, but they're staying. So focus on why they're staying. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, simple. What, because I honor your time and I so appreciate you on a Saturday as we record this, seeing what we're seeing right now. It's February 5th.
Yeah.
Low inventory. What are you as a leader? And again, it was interesting too. We talked before we got on here about, hey, listen, man, I'm keeping it fluid. It's, I think you mentioned it actually in our chat, even here live. I got to keep it fluid. But right now, as you look at this inventory thing, what are you going to have to focus on throughout this year?
Yeah, so we've got a lack of inventory. So we got buyer fatigue, heavy buyer fatigue going on with the consumer in the marketplace, and so we're having to focus. You know, as a response to that, we're focusing on the dialogue with the buyers, keeping them in the game, letting them know we're available, letting them know we're thinking of them, more of a personal touch, right? And so, sure, we'll push listings their way, but also reaching out, you know, every Friday. Like this is one of my favorite things to have our team members do every Friday. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, hope you had a wonderful week. Want to let you know I'm making myself available for you this weekend. If there's any properties that you'd like to set up for a private showing, or if you have any questions, I'm making myself available for you.
So wait a minute. So let's pull the word nurture in. And I think our industry can hear the word nurture and think lead follow-up, this and that. But what you've done is you've gone, and this comes with the depth of the work that you've done in developing, is nurture means care for, encourage, support. So you're doing true nurturing on Friday.
Yeah.
Really simple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a good response.
Yeah. I think the deeper connections, what matters. You know, we could go on for a long time, and we'll probably do this again sometime for sure. And actually, I'm going to get you on stage. We chatted about that, or just with travel and stuff, get you on stage at one of the upcoming events. But the final piece I'll share is, you know, I talk about that spirit of volunteerism, and I want to let anyone know that as you've watched or listened and really connect and resonate with Jeremy, with that spirit of volunteerism, and listen. The people that it's true volunteerism. Sure, people pay for coaching, but that desire to give back. So Jeremy is also one of my coaches, and so what I want you to know is if you have an interest in, and sounds funny, he's one of our coaches, our community, because that's what it is. That's what keeps us truly together. Is if you'd like to explore a discovery call with Jeremy, jeremy.cheplakllivecoaching.com, JEREMY, .cheplakllivecoaching.com. And real quickly, I want to end with that. You are focused on your marriage, focused on being a father, running this business. And it's super important to you. I know, being a friend and working with you for a long time. So it's genuine. A lot of people talk about it. Yet you want to carve out some time to coach and help some people. And listen, it's not a big profit deal. You can go sell $1 million house. Let's do the math on it.
Yeah.
Tell people the reason at this point in your career why you're still running your business and growing it, why you want to be a coach.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love leadership, and I also feel like I have a duty to pour it back into others. I put myself in those rooms. I've
It's
been in those environments. It blows my mind when I think of whose phone numbers I have and who I can reach out with and who's supportive. And
come on. Let's see.
I see.
Dan Beer, Kyle, Sanit. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah.
I mean, that's just some of them, right?
Yeah, it just goes on, and so it's amazing. But we all have that common thread in
We
us.
do.
We want to give back, we want to help, and I believe the more I can pour out, then I have more room to put more in. The more I can pour into people, then it's like a glass of water. I'm gonna pour some out, so now I can put more in. I can
You
put.
know the cliche, if I want to keep what I have, you want to keep this beautiful community that you've created that's allowed you to experience your family and life at the level that you have and continue to do it. You've got to give away what you have. You got
Yeah,
to keep giving it away to people. So Jeremy, I appreciate you. I think more than anything, I appreciate the friendship. Means a lot to me, and I appreciate you taking the time to contribute to others. I know this will really impact people. Thanks so much, brother.
thank you for the opportunity.
You bet, man.
All right.